Hey there everyone, my name is Christian Eschbach and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Now, if you're one of my regular viewers, after the last time, you might be a little surprised to see that I am here in front of the cabinet again. But nobody's home, so I'm getting away with it. Today it is episode or review number 90, which means it is a CanCon episode. That is Canadian content episode. So, this one, State of Shock, Guilty by Association. This is from what I like to call the Canadian invasion or the Canadian explosion, when all of a sudden Canadian bands just busted out everywhere. This is when Nickelback came out, was booming. Billy Talent had come out at this point. Avril Lavigne was enjoying a successful ride. A lot of good music coming out of Canada at that time, depending on your taste in music. I mean, I'm not a huge Avril Lavigne fan, but Sum 41 also in there. Our Lady Peace had been around for a while already, so even though they finally were getting some US exposure as well, they were already around. Same with the Tea Party. Tea Party never really getting it. But anyways, getting off topic. 2004, middle of the Canadian explosion of music, State of Shock comes out. Picked up this album, or it was a gift, I don't remember. I got a rule when it comes to judging bands by their videos. I go by usually 2 to 3 videos before I'll pick up an album. Or in the old days, it would have been radio singles before I'll pick up an album when it's a new album for a band that's new. Got tricked into a few bands in the past just because I didn't follow that methodology. This one here, I followed it, but when I go back and look at this album in retrospect, it's not a bad album to listen to. It takes me back to a time and a place. But I honestly feel a lot the same about the album now as I did back then, which is not necessarily good. And in certain ways, it's kind of where I have fluctuated and changed a little bit. It still kind of washes out. So let me get into this, all right? First off, one of the things I always did like about the band, female bassists. Female bassists are cool. Rob Zombie was the one who first, with White Zombie, Sean Yeltsin, first one to really kind of get into that all-male scene. Long as you exclude Carol King, that's a whole different discussion because, damn, she had to hang with the big boys. Anyways, I've never bothered to learn the names of the band, but here we go, music-wise. The album opens up with Soundtrack of Our Lives. Really cool. Really dig it. Really kind of gets into it. Now, the one thing I will say is this band has 2 things going for it that kind of do work for me and don't work for me at the same time. A lot of screamy yelly. A lot of it. Like almost to the point where it's almost screamo. Because this would have been around the time that screamo was becoming a thing as well. And it's screamo mixed with a sound that is very early Nickelback, early Theory of a Dead Man kind of sounding. And it works, but it doesn't work. It's a little bit harder, which is kind of cool, but I'm not huge on screaming to start with. And the music itself is a little too overproduced. This is an album I think in certain ways suffers from overproduction. After that, we go into What You Gonna Do. I honestly skip What You Gonna Do. I'm not a fan of it. It's an okay tune, but not one I'm into. Which goes into the song that is by far probably the most famous song off this album, is the reason why anybody who got into this album, and to this day, it is still my favorite song off this album, and it's one of like 3 songs that I'll regularly listen to. And that is Wish I Never Met You. Alright, so I picked up this album during my previous not really married, but married life. And my ex and I, we used to sing Wish I Never Met You to each other. That was kind of early in our relationship. We thought we were just having fun rocking it out, but realistically, maybe it was a red flag. Wish I Never Met You, though. Oh my god, such a great song. Awesome, great song. I would add it to a set list anytime as a band. I personally thought it was fantastic. It's so much fun to get out there. And the drums on it. The drums are really, really cool. I like what they do and the tricks that they throw into it. That is followed by the soft ballad-esque If I Could. I don't like ballads usually. I usually bitch and complain about them. This would kind of fall under the category that I may bitch and complain about, but it's not a bad tune. It's heartfelt. It's okay, acceptably romantic. It's not, just a song to try and get chicks into bed. At least it doesn't feel that way, That is followed up by Song I Scream, which really just picks it up a notch, but Song I Scream says exactly about how I'm going to feel about it after you've already watched the beginning of this video. This is why. Don't remember. Seriously. That goes into Living Unaware, which is so. Then Shit Talker, which is like, Then it goes into Breathe Again. Now, when this album first came out, I kind of dug Breathe Again. It wasn't a bad tune, I remember kind of like, a little bit towards it. Now, I enjoy it a lot more now than I did then. I don't think it's a matter of aging into it because I'm older than these guys. It's a matter of just the song itself. I appreciate it more now. That's all it is, really. Like, at the time, it was just a little too soft for me when it first came out. Now, I've mellowed out, but it's soft, but it's not real soft. Like, it's not ballady, kind of. It's a good tune, though, man. It is. That's followed up by So Many Times, which is not a bad tune. It's okay. Next one is So What, which is And then the album finishes up with Rollin'. Rollin's a fantastic tune. Rollin' musically is probably the best song on this album. The way they work it, the way it builds up, the way they move within the context of the song, along with the lyrics themselves and the story, and I just love the build-up in it. I really do. And I really like that the song takes you somewhere, and it really completes this album perfectly. It is the best way they could have ended out this album, whoever's choice it was, to put Rollin' in at the last track. Really made a great choice on it, and it is because of how good that song is and how well it finishes out the album that I do listen to the album in its entirety as often as I do, which, to be fair, is not that often. Honestly, when I decided to do this review, I was trying to find another Canadian band to do. There's been a couple I have purposely avoided, and one of them I have purposely avoided because I have purposely pushed it to review 100. Because if you're going to do a big number like 100, you got to do something spectacular for it. Just like review 99 is going to be something a little different too. Anyways, State of Shock, man. If you run across this album, if you can find this album for $5, pick it up. Check it out for yourself. See what you think for yourself. I myself, if I lost this album, would I go pick it up again? Probably not. I've done it. this is not an album I would necessarily do it for. As much as I dig, Wish I Never Met You, and Roll In, Breathe Again Not Being Bad, If I Could Not Being Bad, even So Many Times Not Being Too Bad, I still just, I don't have the connection with this album. And at one time I felt more connected to it than I do now, and now I just don't feel connected to it at all. So now that this is the first time I've listened to it probably in about 2 years, it's going to be the last time I listen to it probably for about another 2 years. Maybe longer. Unless somebody actually says, hey, let's check that out. I want to hear that. Then I might put it on for them. But yeah, that's State of Shock, everybody. Guilty by association. Those are my views. Let me know what you think. There's a comment section. Hit subscribe. That way you get notifications when new videos come out. If you hit that like button, that helps me out a lot too. And also, just remember, peace, love, and take care.